Hello everyone, this is Redden from Tempest, and I'm here to bring you another one of our guides, this time focusing on our Roode strategy. Roode is the first boss in the new Scum and Villainy operation, and is literally the first encounter that you face once you zone in. The fight is pretty straightforward and simple, but before we get into it, I'd like to mention a few things. Firstly, I want to tell you that this footage was captured on the PTS, which currently holds one of the starting builds for the new SOTOR expansion. We've cleared these encounters 3 or 4 times already on hard mode, and BioWare seems to keep slightly tweaking these fights, fixing or adding mechanics as they go along. This means that there's a possibility that when this encounter goes live, some of the mechanics will have changed. If this is the case, we will be uploading a reviewed version of our strategy, encompassing the new mechanics if they exist, but for now, we feel that the fight is pretty set in stone and it's not going to be changed dramatically. Secondly, as soon as you zone in, you'll see an NPC leaning towards the side of a big tent called a Shady Character. This guy sells an item named Personal Environmental Shield. It costs 500 credits and you need it to complete the encounter. Although you'll only be using a maximum of 1 per fight, the item stacks in your inventory and doesn't despawn when you leave the instance or log out, so I suggest you buy a small stack of these so that you don't have to worry about it later. Buy the item, put it on your hotbar, and preferably keybind it for quick access. The mechanics of the encounter revolve around a sandstorm that seems to be raging around the area. As soon as you step into the sandstorm, which you must do to engage the boss, you'll start taking minor bits of damage and you'll receive a stacking debuff called Howling Sandstorm. The longer you stand in the sandstorm, the more stacks and the higher damage you'll take from the storm will be. To start the encounter, send your main tank into the storm to the closest well-lit point, where you'll find a few objects lying in the desert. About halfway through the tank's run-in, have the rest of your raid follow in the sandstorm. As soon as the tank gets to the shown area, he needs to click an object named Environmental Isolation Field Generator. This will deploy a purple shield around the area and spawn the boss at the edge of the shield. As long as you remain within the shield, you don't take stacks or damage from the sandstorm. The entire encounter focuses around this shield generator. At each one of these locations, you'll notice a high rock cliff nearby. The boss does an AoE knockback that strikes targets 360 degrees around him. Stack your raid at this cliff, with their backs to the rock, so that they don't get knocked back out of the shield. This is also a good place to put down your Assassin's Shelter if you have a Sin or a Shadow tank to buff healing. As for the tank himself, the best way we found to avoid the knockback is to tank him as I do here, with your back to the shield generator itself. It's a pretty tight area, but it shouldn't be too difficult to get the hang of. While you're under the shield, small adds called Vicious Zuvis, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, will spawn in waves of 2. These little guys are attracted by the humming of the generator that is powering the shield. They will attack it and try to kill it. If they succeed in doing so, the protective shield around you will lose power and you'll be pretty much screwed from the sandstorm. To deal with this, have your ranged DPS focus them down, and remember that you can stun and control them all you'd like to buy yourself time. It takes them a long while to actually kill the generator, but you should never ignore them. Tanks can also help buying time by taunting the adds, forcing them to attack the tank for the 6-second duration of the taunt, before they go right back to trying to kill the generator. As for the boss himself, he only has 2 mechanics of note. The first is that he cleaves. This is why we can't have the main tank stacking at the rock cliff with the rest of the raid. The positioning displayed here that I mentioned will completely negate the cleave damage, and you should be good to go. The second mechanic is that he will occasionally launch the main tank directly into the air, stunning him and causing him to lose aggro for about 5 seconds. During that time, the off-tank should taunt the boss and eat the damage until the main tank lands. Now, we found that it wasn't really worth it to reposition or do a tank swap here, so we just had our raid heal through the few cleaves until the main tank landed and taunted the boss back. One slightly annoying mechanic is that he sometimes likes to time it so that he does his 360 degree knockback after he knocks the tank up. Well, that means that your primary tank is going to get thrown really far out of the shield. If this happens, it usually glitches you back into the shield and you should be safe, but if not, it wouldn't hurt either way for you to use your personal shield generator that you bought from the NPC at the start of the zone-in. The real mechanic of this fight is that regardless of the Vicious Zuvis killing the power generator or not, the shield will eventually lose power and despawn. At this point, the field generator will become clickable again. Have the main tank quickly click it for the 2-second cast and he will receive a temporary, mobile, smaller version of the shield. At this point, your raid is supposed to huddle inside it and move as a single unit to the next point down the map. The boss does not do a knockback or a cleave during this phase, but it's a smart idea to use a tanking defensive due to the heavy amounts of movement. The best way that we found to approach this kite is to have the entire raid stack on the leading edge of the shield and have the main tank literally backpedal to the next location. This allows for a slow and steady pace that the DPS and heals can work around by going ahead, casting a few abilities, and then catching up again. During the kite from point to point, you'll notice these yellow circles on the ground which snare you. Simply avoid them and get to your destination. The small shield lasts for exactly 1 minute before despawning, and we found that the boss begins to do his knockbacks when there are about 10 to 15 seconds left on the shield buff. So it's best to play it safe and get to the new location within that time frame. Upon reaching the new location, have the main tank click on the new field generator at the new location to deploy a brand new shield and repeat the process again. In total, there are 4 points that have field generators on the map, but we found that we only really needed to use the first 3 of them because of how low our DPS got the boss between the 3rd and the 4th location transition. If you find yourself at a point where you can kill him within the 1 minute lifespan of the small shield, don't even bother kiting to the new location. Just stand still and DPS him down to finish the encounter. The only other mechanic to note is that whenever there is a transition from point to point, he will randomly select 2 raid members and teleport them somewhere into the desert. This mechanic is called Lost in the Desert and is actually pretty fun. The lost players will need to find their way back to the shield as soon as they can, but to make things a little more fun, little womp rats spawn around where the player gets teleported to, and they actually snare players. Now, he likes to teleport players on either side of the path shown here, and the best way to handle this mechanic is to quickly activate your personal shield generator, the one that you purchased from the NPC at the start of the zone in, so that you don't take any damage from the storm or any stacks from it. Then, get rid of the Womp Rats by using a knockback or any kind of AoE control ability that you may have, and then quickly getting rid of the snare by using either your CC break or any movement cooldown, and then basically just legging it to where the shield is. Don't even bother hitting the ads, and they'll follow you, because they'll basically just follow you into the shield, and when you get there, they'll be handled by the raid, by basically having your off-tank taunt them and having your DPS just AoE them down. That's literally it for this fight, guys. Overall, it's pretty refreshing with a few new mechanics, even if they're not too much of a challenge. As usual for our guides, this is not the only viable strategy to clear this encounter. It is simply the easiest way that we found to clear a relatively simple fight, and other strategies may work just as well. Thanks for joining me for this guide. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you found the content useful. We intend to do strategy guides for every encounter in Scum and Villainy. Also, if you find yourself on the PTS or on the Prophecy of the 5 server, don't hesitate to drop us a line, or of course in the comments below, stating any positive or negative feedback that you may have, or any of your questions. Thanks for listening.